Our next guest is Herman Manyora. We haven't had him here this year, but now here he is. Happy New Year, Herman.
Happy New Year.
How you doing?
Taking a break from media.
Why?
Just taking a break.
Why?
Arrest is, what is it? Arrest is what? Is as good as a, something is what? No.
Something arrest like is as good as a break.
yeah, whatever.
That thing.
Yeah.
Good. So how is it feeling?
Oh, feeling great.
Are you feeling broken or rested?
Well, great. Just great.
Okay.
Feeling good.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, thank you.
City will welcome you with the day's proverb. This week, the man is in Namibia.
We are honoring the passing away of their president, a great friend of this country's. Yes, and the relationship between Kenya and Namibia has been fast and has been strong for very, very many years. Yes, the continent has lost a great leader. A stranger has big eyes, but sees nothing.
A stranger has big eyes, but sees nothing.
Hey.
Think, Herman. Think.
Hapo kwa big eyes.
What do you think it means?
I have no idea. City should tell us.
A stranger has big eyes.
Big eyes, but she's nothing.
But sees nothing.
I think basically meaning would be that if you are new somewhere, you can't know what's going on there until it takes a little while to understand.
Spot on.
Thank you.
Neo?
Spot on.
Eh?
Spot on.
Very good. Very good.
Wajua ukiingia kwenyewe haifai uwe mjuaji.
No matter your ujuaji.
Yes, you cannot know. It's like some foreigner coming to advise us how we should live in this country.
It's true. My people say the chicken that enters the yard stays on one leg for a day.
On one leg.
Jogo la shamba, jimbi la shamba.
Ndio hivyo.
And the government says nobody should go and advise them about anything in Rwanda.
You know, when somebody offers advice, the understanding is that there's something they know or they comprehend that you have shown signs you do not. So they're aiding you. That is often welcome, but it is a lot more useful if you're aiding someone when you have a great understanding.
Correct.
Of where it is they're coming from, the circumstances, and who they are. Then the assistance makes a lot of sense.
Context opens those big eyes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So, Manyora.
Yes.
A lot's happening in this country, politically and all, eh?
A lot.
I
don't even know. I want to hear from you.
A lot. There's a lot. There's taking on Raila.
I don't read papers. I don't watch news.
You just took a complete break.
But I can recharge.
Yeah?
I can recharge. I can reboot the system.
This is you now rebooting.
Yes, now
starting
I'm
from
rebooting
here.
This studio today.
Okay. Now somebody has gone to court and said that there are many Kenyans in various parts of the country who do not have a representative for their ward, do not have a representative, and they participated in the 2022 election, but for one reason or another, that seat has fallen vacant. And the seat has not been refilled to date, despite there being a clear path towards refilling those seats, constitutionally and in law, the Elections Act and others. And the judge looked at that and said, yeah, true. There's a violation of the rights of these people. Now, I understand that there's some political conversation that's been taking place in the name of national dialogue, but that national dialogue, as far as I sit here and I look at the law, is not anchored in any law. So I direct that an IEBC selection panel immediately commences the work of filling the position of IEBC commissioners so that they can be appointed, so that then they can hold an election, by-elections in these areas. It is so ordered. Politicians are up in arms. They're like...
It is so ordered.
This judiciary does not understand that we are actually in the middle of a conversation on how to have that selection panel.
It's tricky.
What's the trick?
Because the judge is looking at the law. and perhaps in isolation, and makes a ruling or gives an order. Yeah. And it's up to politicians to see what to do. Unless you are saying the judge should have been more sensitive to the situation on the ground. But I want to say this before you go there.
Yeah.
I think, one of the defining characteristics of a poor person is wastage. And it applies to poor countries. We waste money all the time. Why do we have to do by-elections? Why? And you spend millions and millions of shillings. Last time I checked, a single by-election in our constituent, I think, was costing about 40 million, many years ago. That wasn't even 10 years ago.
40 million.
40 million, under the old constitution. More than 10 years ago.
One by-election.
40 million
shillings. You can imagine what it is today. And all the busybodies running around. And everything coming to a standstill. If you really put the figures down, my friend, you'll be talking past about 200 million shillings on a single by-election. Perhaps a quarter of that, 50 million to elect an MCA. What for? Why can't we have arrangements when, if something happens and a seat falls vacant, there's somebody to fill it?
And who's
this wastage?
I think the question then would be, Herman, who is that somebody then? And then because looking at an election in the first place, it is assumed that it is the choice of the people by going to the ballot that selected this individual. Now, for whatever reason, this individual should, fall away. The people not then reserve the right to make another selection of who will be the replacement.
At a higher level in America, for example, and even in Kenya, you elect a president, but if the president disappears from the picture, you don't have to go to an election.
Because there's a vice president.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to think out someone.
But in this case, there's no vice MCA. No, no deputy.
It's a question of thinking out something. We could say maybe the second person. If Manyora gets, MCA Manyora gets 1,800 votes, I beat Muga with a miserable 50 votes. Why can't he become the next
Then
MCA?
give Muga should something happen.
We should take care. I mean, it's a question of the principle.
So the number two should be
worked out.
So like we have a sitting MCA and a standing MCA.
Whichever. We can work out something to avoid wastage of money and the time. But back to your question, I think I don't blame the judge. He was doing his job.
She was doing her job.
She was a girl. She was a lady.
She was
a lady. I didn't know that. I tell you, I don't watch news. So this person was doing their job. Let's not blame them. Let's then use the ruling and move forward. Let us be proactive. Instead of making noise, instead of blaming the judge, let's just move forward and say, what can we do? We don't have time left in terms of, for example, review of boundaries. You can't do it now. What can we do? The reality of NADCO is there with us. The political reality, like I think Muga says, or you, is there. In between all these realities, how can we figure out the way forward? I think that to me is the most important thing.
Herman, what you suggest happens to be a reality in one country that I know of. It's called Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea.
When you elect, you choose, you're given a choice. Who is your number one choice?
Yes.
Who's your number two choice? Who's your number three choice? Okay?
Yes.
So if you want to be an MP, you go around the various wards or the various areas talking to people.
Yes.
When they then tally, they tally the number of number ones you've gotten.
Yes.
If you've gotten the most number ones, then clearly you are the one who is the lead.
Correct.
If there's some sort of a tie, then they go to number two. They count your number twos and look at how many number twos did you garner.
Yes.
Okay? Now, meaning, if, say, for instance, my constituency is Mbakasi, okay? And I want to be president, and I'm campaigning, and I know very well that it is Manyora's stronghold. I will not go and tell them, give me number one. I say, just give me number two. I know Manyora is your person, okay? But just give me the number two vote.
Yes.
Meaning, the option for somebody else to actually get elected or to be in a position of authority is already catered for within that system. Okay. So as you say correctly, by the time they're going for a rerun, usually you've tied on all these things and you can see the complexity of it.
Yeah.
So the election is then easily justifiable. But not on this one of ours where you could have won with the 20 votes.
Yes.
Now, those 20 votes can be contestable. But then when it comes to matters of the judiciary, this is where now I find our hypocritical nature rearing its head. Judiciary as an entity are the same people who in 2017 said, we're going back to this election, this one didn't make sense. Yes. Same judiciary. Same judiciary also said, look, folks, let's be reasonable. These CSs, the law doesn't allow you to have them. Go back and fix it. They were even given a period within which they could fix it. Yes. Did they fix it? No. They were even given an opportunity and say, okay, we allow you to have CSs, but you have this number. What did we go and do? We doubled the number. So all I'm saying is, it's like those who are in political rulership in this country look for ways of going against the very thing that the judiciary or the law states. So when the judiciary stamps their foot and says, look, this is what the law says, our politicians seem to want to give the impression that they're above the law, that whatever the judges say, if they don't agree with it, it can't possibly be right. Now, surely, that is my understanding of it. Is this attitude really correct?
It wouldn't be correct, but again, there's the danger of what people are calling a constitutional crisis. But these are small matters. The problem with this country, people don't want to think. We are lazy when it comes to thinking. These are small matters that can be sorted out one afternoon in a room. City, Muga, Latiff, and I, and we sit down and with these politicians and we tell them way forward. It's nothing difficult.
So why aren't they doing it?
I don't know.
It can't be laziness.
It's mental laziness.
No, it is.
It's laziness.
It is.
I'm telling you.
Apathy is laziness. I mean,
even this IBC thing, it's just laziness. Why are they talking about IBC? Why is Raila, for example, talking about IBC and Ruto and everybody? It's just laziness. IBC is a small cog in the whole mess. You need to fix the electoral system. Then IBC is a small thing that comes at the tail end of the fixing of the electoral problem.
What's wrong with the electoral system? What's wrong?
It doesn't produce the results people would expect and desire and deserve. That's all.
What do you mean?
That's why we're always fighting after every 5 years and wasting time and money and resources and life and property.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I think it's only in 2002, in recent years, that an election was not found to be unfair.
What election are you talking about? A presidential election?
There's only one election in this country. How many elections?
There are 6 elections.
There's only one election. These others are flower girls escorting the president. This country has only one election. And if you fix it, everything's okay. We've never had a proper election. And the only time we didn't have problems was 2002, and then it is because of the overwhelming nature of the victory of NAC and the mood in the country, euphoria and everything you want to call it. But all these others, from the time we restarted it in 1992, have had issues with them, and it's at the presidential point. So
what is wrong there?
It is the whole electoral system.
What?
The entire electoral system is an infrastructure. To deliver a president, you need an electoral infrastructure.
Okay.
IBC is a small aspect of that at the operational level. So it does not matter to me who becomes a commissioner. So I'm very amused, sometimes even annoyed that seasoned politicians like Ella would be putting premium on who is a commissioner.
Herman, I'm sorry, but you're using buzzwords.
Why?
The whole electoral system has a problem.
Yes.
What is the problem? Is the problem in identification of voters, in saying who votes? Is a problem in voting? Is a problem in counting? Is a problem in declaration of where is the problem?
Let me give you in a nutshell.
Yes.
The problem is that the results of elections in this country do not reflect the will of the people of this country.
How do we know that?
We know it because we live in this country and we see it, and we have it on authority. What did Judge Kriegler tell us? We have it on authority. What did the Supreme Court tell us in 2017? We have it on authority, my friend. It's not guesswork. We have it on authority in black and white.
So why does it not reflect the so-called
That's what I'm saying.
will
Therefore,
of the
we need to go and sit down as Kenyans and ask ourselves, why is this electoral system not delivering to us?
How would we be able to know if the system was delivering the results that would then be reflection of the will of the people? What would we see? how would we then say, yes, actually, the results of this particular election actually shows the will of the people? How
we
would
would
we
see
know?
the loser conceding defeat.
Okay.
So it depends on the attitude of the loser.
The loser is not an individual.
Okay.
It is a country.
Yeah, it depends on the attitude of that loser.
If you stand on top of KICC, whatever you call it, you'll be able to see the country and you can read the mood of the country. You can take the pulse of the country. Every time an election is announced of the president, and you can tell there's something wrong. Even before it gets to the Supreme Court, you can know. And in fact, Latiff, have you ever bothered to find out why the framers of the Constitution said we could sort out an election dispute in 14 days? Have you ever thought about it? So when I see some people who say they are learned, saying we need to extend 14 days, I think they don't understand. They miss the point. The point is you can have a bird's view of what has taken place during an election. It can't be a contestation in a court in the normal manner when you can determine a parliamentary contest in a court, a dispute, in 2 months. How can you determine a presidential one in 14 days? It means it is expected that if you live in this country, Latiff, you can have a bird's view of the situation. You can know this election was not conducted well. That's what 14 days means.
That's what Ndu is asking you. How can you tell? For example, apart from the one that you've quoted, the 2002, and you have said the reason why many people were okay with the result outcome in 2002 was because of the overwhelming nature of the support for one candidate. All right? One of those candidates. Since 1992, has there been any election apart from the 2002 one where you can say that there has been an overwhelming support of a single candidate, where then you would know that, this is the candidate with the most overwhelming support, but this is not the candidate who's been declared?
It is not overwhelming in the sense of knack, but you can get a sense, you can get a feeling of where the country is headed, the direction the country is taking.
Would you say that, all right, let's even go into 2013, 2017, 2022, that there is an election where the candidates who've gone into that election, any of them, you could look, press the pulse of the country and all, and say that this candidate has 52% of the electorate?
You can have a feeling of who won the election.
I'm asking.
Even then, you can have a feeling of who won the election. But that is, now let me explain.
Is there any of those three elections?
You can have a feeling, but you see, that's a very subjective one because of the 52%. You know, there's something we are talking about is 60 plus. 52% is something subjective. And this is how now the Supreme Court comes in. When you go through the Supreme Court, it removes all doubt now. Even before they tell us their verdict, having listened to the presentations in court, it should confirm to you who won the election. So they can say something that is contrary to what people know to be the truth. But back to why IBC to me is a small bit, we need to look at, for example, let me just give you practical reasons why I think IBC should come last. We need to start by looking and asking ourselves, even at that lower level of just managing an election, we ask ourselves, do you need a full-time commission? How come countries with millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions of voters, where a Kenyan politician, the Kenyan population is not enough to provide election officials in India? The entire population of Kenya is less than the number of people required to run an election in India. Okay? How come they could have 3 commissioners? And how come they may not even be full-time? And why? What is the role of IBC commission vis-a-vis the secretariat? Those are issues to ask. Secondly, why would an election be managed from Nairobi? And the law itself states that voting takes place at the polling station and ends there. Why are we not reading from that? Why don't we find a way of decentralizing the management of elections to county and even ward level? Okay? So when you begin to interrogate yourself, then you now get perhaps to a point of, okay, fine, we have now the structures, election has been decentralized, commissioners are part-time, there are fewer than 9. Okay, so what is the next point? Okay, we are now voting. What does Muga do when is it CIA or whatever it is? Those are now the details you can get to. Yeah, later.
Are we saying an electoral system is a voting system?
I've clarified. I've said at the end now, when you get now to the voting, how do you manage the voting?
There's a reason why I asked the question, and I'm in agreement with your response. Is this, Eric asked the question, have we had any time outside 2002 where it was patently clear that a certain candidate won? And you spoke of a bird's eye view. I think the crafters of our constitution sought to set this straight when they said the election begins and ends at the polling station.
Correct.
All right? Now, why did we have a problem in 2007 and 2008? Something very strange happened. The individual who was supposed to have lost the election had more MPs, had more, put it this way, the elected leaders within the party of that individual were more, significantly more. So the question that was then being asked was, is it actually possible for people to have gone to the ballot and elected all these elected officials and failed to vote for the flag bearer of this particular party? It was a question that has never fully been answered, but it raised questions. Now, in my mind, it is a significant question. And then there was the question of those who actually voted, and there were issues of votes. Now, the one question that is never addressed in this country is the one of the server. Never. It is talked about, it is asked, and yet that ought to be the most transparent, because that is where all the elections, all the votes, everything is nestled. So if someone says yes, here it is.
But City Muga, what is the point of the server? The server is neither here nor there. Where is the server in this the whole mass? I've been scratching my head to find out the role of the server.
The reason why
elections take place
at the polling station.
At the polling station, and it ends
not
there.
on a server.
Yeah, not on a server.
The reason why the server becomes a subject of debate is because it is where Nyungu, yes, yes, it is where everything else is nestled.
Why is it going there? That's for records only.
Yeah.
Yes, but the records are a reference point, are they not?
No. City, the record.
We don't declare even a winner from the south.
No, the record is the warehouse that has the physical ballots.
Look, the server is our electoral system electronic.
No, it's not.
When results are relayed to the tallying center, is it physically or electronic?
Physical.
Both. Both.
Which tallying center?
That's just
the national tallying center.
What are you? That is just, look here, let me say, City Muga. I want you to help politicians in this country, please. Tell the politicians elections take place at the polling station.
Period.
The president is declared at the polling station. Period.
Telling.
You know,
that's why I'm saying, and listen to me carefully, let us not bother who becomes a commissioner. After all, they will be bribed if there's bribing, and they will be relevant. Many of the people Raila has complained against were put there by Raila. He defended them. He put them there, but they turned against him, including his own people. So let's not depend on the people at the top there. Let us decentralize our electoral system. Let us have people with a say at the county level, at the ward level, at the management level. Now we go to the polling station. Now you have, this is what I got. This is what Latiff got.
But that's what we
Nobody
have.
can change it.
But that's what we have, Manyora.
Nobody can change it. And why is it not working?
The
it
election
is not
that
working
is declared by the returning officer.
It is not working, Latiff, listen. Yeah. It is not working because we've created this myth about Bomas.
Is it a myth really?
Yes. It's not supposed to be there.
What do you mean?
It's nothing.
That people must come. This myth that you're talking about is that individuals, everybody, must now come and congregate at Bomas, and now Bomas is the validation for this one-day exercise. And you're saying that it doesn't need to actually happen.
Let me give you a good example.
Is that what you're saying here?
Let me give you a good example. In America, I want to give you a good example. Okay. In America, people vote. And after they vote, somebody concedes. And somebody even gives an acceptance speech. Have they gotten to the Bomas yet? Do you know when they will get to Bomas, my friend? Find out. When do they get Bomas? City Muga. I'm talking to you. You must be a good student.
No, they do not.
When Biden was declared winner and he gave that moving speech of Obama, had he been declared the president by the system? Had they gone to Bomas?
No.
You see,
Latiff, had they gone to Bomas?
No.
Not yet.
They do not have Bomas.
A whole month or so ahead, even 2 months.
The reason.
Herman Manyora is our guest. He's been off the media for a while. He's coming out of that hibernation now, and he's coming out guns blazing. He says we are focusing too much on the IEBC and not on the system. And you're also talking about there's the need to decentralize this whole thing.
Correct.
But I put it to you, Herman, it's actually decentralized. Like you said, election happens at the polling station. And for you to challenge what the returning officer has declared as a win, that is where you now go to court. To challenge what the returning... So the returning officer is the boss of that election at the polling station. The constituency is actually where the election is declared for MCA, for MP, even for president.
But is that our practice?
That's what happens.
What are you saying exactly?
In this country.
Yes.
So the returning officer, the constituency returning officer is the boss of the election in that. When the constituency returning officer says, in these wards, these are the MCAs who've been elected, I now declare, and they issue certificates.
Yes.
The constituency returning officer says, this is the MP.
Yes.
The county returning officer says, this is the governor, the woman rep, the senator. Ends. The constituency returning officer says, this is the presidential election result in this constituency.
Yes.
Ends. What the guys at Bomas are doing, they're only relaying to us because we were not in that constituency. They're relaying to the country. This is what the constituency returning officer in Endebess said as the result of the presidential election. Yes.
Yeah.
They don't come and say, but we have now counted. No.
Yes.
So
Bomas is... Where is the problem?
Bomas is just...
So where is the problem?
A podium.
Why was somebody declaring Bomas a scene of crime?
Because the claim here... and
all the fuss is about Bomas, you know that.
And that is what City was saying, that in that transmission of what has been declared by the constituency returning officer as the result of the presidential election, when it happens online and happens physically, that's where issues come up. But I ask, are they really issues that are coming up, or is it the political protagonists creating issues?
You see, we have created Bomas as a superhuman being to tell us what has taken place. And I've talked to you about America. And I've told you, by the time they get to Bomas, somebody is already president. The only thing that has not happened, they have not been sworn in. But they are already president. They have been president. Everything about them, they are president. You get what I'm saying? Let us get our president without Bomas. Let Bomas just be the formality that Congress engages in declaring or actually confirming who won the presidency. I don't think in American history that has been overturned. I'm not so sure that one day their Bomas has overturned what people knew to be true. Even just exit polls already indicate Muga has won the presidency and Manyora concedes to him. That's what I'm trying to say we do. And let us get to have our president long before we get to Bomas, so that Bomas becomes a mere formality, Congress confirming.
And for me, I say the problem is not the system.
Yeah, it is the system.
No, the problem is the candidates, the politicians.
No, why?
Because just like we've said, if there's no contestation of any of the 290 returning officers, if the 290 returning officers, just like would be in America and elsewhere, if the 290 have said this is the person who's won the presidential election in this constituency, right?
Why do we even wait for them to say? They don't. We don't. By the time the constituency person does that from 34B or whatever it is called, B or C.
Yes.
We already have our president. The loser has already conceded. That's what I'm trying to allude to. And in order to aid that, Latiff, let us decentralize.
What is this? Why is the loser conceding? before the returning officer declares the...
Why should he wait? Do they wait in America for the returning officer?
Which returning officer?
No,
yes, they do.
They don't.
At the local level, they do.
No, what are you talking about?
You know...
Wait, which American elections do you watch?
But
Which one do you watch yourself?
Those local...
you too.
the local election... the local election, a winner is declared. The result is announced.
You have a bias when discussing the American electoral system, and you forget.
Yes.
It's a little more complex than we're making it.
Big one.
Is that big?
Yes, it's a little more complex.
Yes.
Because you have something called an electoral college.
Yes.
In my mind, I don't probably understand it well, it's a pre-rigged system. Because
Yes.
you are not president by a popular vote in America. Not really.
Correct.
Atumepigiwa kura. We've had people who've won the popular vote.
Clinton did by 3 million.
Oh, yes. 3 million is many people. Yeah. Then you go to the electoral vote, and something happens. Yet they have a safeguard. If the electoral college doesn't declare you, then you go to Congress. They decide. Now, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that is their system. Okay? However it looks, whatever it looks to us is their system. It seems to have worked for them over time.
Yes.
Now, with our system, we thought we had fixed it. And if you look at everything, we had actually fixed it. Meaning, everything ends at the polling station.
Muga, that's what I'm saying.
That we then twisted
Whether
it.
the Americans elect through an electoral system where you need to get 270 or
Whatever
not
it is.
is not the issue. The issue is you do not arrive at that 270 without people voting.
Okay.
It is people who vote to give you the 270.
I think maybe
You're
one
getting
thing is...
The raw figures do not declare you president, but those raw figures are what gives you 270 to become the U.S. president. So what I'm saying is, if we decentralize our management, let's say we decentralize IBC, and then we begin to create a tradition where everything actually is recognized as starting and ending with the polling station.
So we focus on the polling station as opposed to Bomas.
Including our media. Look at the role the media plays in America.
Yes.
Including our media.
Yes.
Including local election agents. Including the systems, the people we create as we decentralize.
Yes.
Who give validity and the force of validity to that vote. So that it is known long before somebody in Bomas or even at constituency says anything.
Yes.
We know Latiff has won the presidency of the Republic of Kenya, and she concedes and congratulates you. That's what I'm talking about.
But this is the thing, and that's why we are saying, and I think the one thing that is comparable here between Kenya and the US, that is comparable, because I think there's so many other things that we cannot draw parallels with.
Yes.
I think the one thing that we are seeking for is that the system is dependable.
Correct.
And that it has been accepted from time immemorial that it is upon this system that we will operate. The federal system that they use it banks on the trust that people have that this will actually be. Yes. So no matter how aggrieved you are, no matter how sour you are over a loss, you will accept it because you are sure that the system is in place. Unfortunately, and I think we all have to admit that where we see all of this agitation is because there is an element of control that is lost when you do not have a say in the folks who are going to oversee the system. And I think that is the problem.
And that's
that
what
we
I'm
are facing
fixing.
right
That's what
now.
I want us to fix by decentralizing.
Why should, it doesn't matter whatever side of the political that you are on, why should we have in these individuals, it doesn't matter if we're talking about the side that is the ruling majority. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about the opposition. Why should we have people who have a vested interest in the outcome of this competition, because that's what it is, then decide who the referees will be?
Very good question. And that is where the problem is.
The referees.
I put it to, it's not the referee. It is the politician. The problem with our election is not the IEBC, is not the way we structured it. It is that politician. The politician who is playing in this match has created this feeling among their followers that we don't trust this. If it doesn't go our way, we don't trust it. If it goes our way, we trust it. And vice versa. If you're on the other side, we trust it, we don't trust it. And these are the politicians at the national level. Because the politicians...
We render them irrelevant.
At the ward level, going by the number of petitions that were filed after the election, the politicians at the ward level are okay.
Ward and county.
That's what I'm saying.
Those who lose at ward level are
That's what
okay.
I'm saying, Latiff.
Those who lose at constituency level are okay. Those who lose at governor level are okay. Our problem.
You see,
William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi. Those are the ones.
And now, Latiff.
Now, if those ones developed within themselves,
they don't have
culture.
No, we don't have to. We force it on them.
Yes,
structurally.
If they had a culture,
we get the structure to force
of accepting.
They will once we make
the
it
will of
possible.
The people, and the will of the people is the will of the people.
And I like it, Latiff, if you have said something, which I like. All of us have said something. Yeah? Have you ever had people contesting the election at the polling station? That Muga has 70 votes, Latiff has 60, Manyora. Have you had people fighting over it?
Hardly.
It is so obvious.
There was a time.
That's a very rare thing if it happens.
No, it wasn't rare. During the Mlolongo.
Those days.
We are moved from
because
that.
It was
I'm
not
not talking about now.
Because it was not at the polling station.
I'm talking about
the issues used to be at the tallying station. Because the distance between polling station and tallying station is where the issues
and you are carrying votes and things of that nature. But
now that the vote does not move out of that class,
it doesn't move. It is never in dispute as to how many votes Latiff had at the polling station as a presidential candidate
on that day.
And therefore I'm saying let's embrace that. Let's make use of that. Let's institutionalize that vote so that it is that vote we are dealing with and nothing else. So that there's nobody waiting for Bomas or even constituency. Kenyans know Ruto got so many votes in Luombe polling station where I come from. And no, it's never in dispute. Let's Kenyans work with these votes now and declare they are president. And let's know this is our president. So we only create a system, an infrastructure that embraces that ideal. And you don't have to wait for Bomas or anybody else. Part of going in that direction, walking in that direction, Latiff, is what I'm suggesting. We decentralize IEBC or the management of our system, even create structures at the polling center level, okay? So that institutionally, we now own this vote. We give it validity. We give it the force required to determine for Kenyans who their president is without any noise. By moving this vote and getting it on a bus, easy coach, to take it to Nairobi, or putting it in some broadband, whatever you call
cloud.
Inject a cloud. You are creating unnecessary trouble for yourself. Let's just find a way of this vote being what matters. The law says so. Why can't we live with the law, work with the law, and make Bomas as irrelevant as we can make
and
it.
I think
so it is a mere formality.
I think one of the ways of getting there, and I just want to ask this, is that we need to remove this human element and not... I'm not saying remove people from the system. I'm saying remove this element that has been so conditioned, whereby people almost expect that somebody will be involved to sway a decision in one way or another. That when you speak about it today and say, well, this thing will go to the Supreme Court, the initial reaction is that, well, somebody's been bought. Or that when you say votes must travel from tallying to polling, that then we know that it's going to be diverted and thrown into a river somewhere. That is the first thought, because it is hinged on I must win. I mean, we can use examples. There's a match today. Do you think that both sides have spoken to the referee beforehand and said, you know what, we need to play this way? And that's what I'm saying. You cannot have... It is impossible. Then we can very well say that it is impossible that in the last 20 years in Kenya, or in very many other places where the same practice happens, that you've had a free and fair election. Because the referee has been selected by people who are involved in the competition. It is not possible. You can't have that. And that's what I'm saying. You can have systems that work. But so long as those who are guarding over the system are selected by the people who are playing in that arena, you will never have a fair system.
In fact, that's not even very correct. There are many ways of populating an electoral system, an IBC if you wish. By the way, one of the most popular is for political parties.
Now, hold on.
To go our way of 1997.
Herman, let me ask you something.
Yes.
I agree that political parties can.
And this is by scholars.
Hang on. Political parties can be involved in the process.
Yes.
But you must go to the genesis of how these political parties were formed in the first place. If we are going to bank on the original ideology of political parties, that you say political parties were formed for ideology, whereas here in Kenya and very many other places, political parties are a vehicle for political expediency. It's individuals. It's not ideology. So we cannot then come back and say we will use political parties to populate the system.
In this country,
in Kenya.
That's a lie.
It goes
You
back.
cannot say at UDA has selected so and so. That's Ruto who has selected.
It goes
ODM
back
has selected. That's Raila who has selected.
Herman joins a party today. CT doesn't like him. Herman goes and forms another party and says, everybody follow me.
It goes back to what I've said, and I think I spelled out. I said, the moment you decentralize IEBC, you begin to rely less and less on the individuals in that commission.
Herman.
The moment you define their role vis-a-vis that of the secretariat, you are beginning to move away from the human element in
we are in agreement completely.
You get what I'm saying?
No, I am not in agreement with Herman at all.
Okay.
You know why?
Yes.
In principle, what he's saying is the ideal that I would wish for.
Yeah.
We had that same thinking when we created the counties. The monster that we have is not what we envisioned. Because we said, let's decentralize this power, let's decentralize resources, let us bring this thing to the people. What have we seen? Yes, there have been changes, yes. But we are very, very, very far from what it is that was envisioned. What we created were demigods who have become very wealthy from the very resources that they were supposed to use for their people. These are their people. Now, this is Kenya. You decentralize IEBC. What are the safeguards that will guarantee that we don't create other demigods in the various places that you're going to have them? So what you're seeing at Bomas will then be replicated.
No.
I am asking.
I'm saying that
once
already this thing is decentralized. Just like I have gone and told you, Herman.
Yes.
That returning officer at what was that polling station? What did you call it?
Luombe.
Yes.
Luombe or Gombe? Luombe.
Yes, Luombe.
That returning officer at Luombe polling station.
Yes.
When they read
presiding officer.
When they read the presiding officer, yes. When they read the result,
it's fine.
That's it. So it's already decentralized.
Yeah.
The only thing is that, administratively, they're answerable.
You are waiting for Bomas.
You
have given Bomas. I want to say this in the interest of the viewer, not your interest. Because you are not good students, you are slow learners. In the interest of the viewer, you have created a monster called Bomas. We must deflect. We must remove Bomas from the picture. Okay. So that it is a center that does only formality. We already have it in law, and as you are putting it, in practice, that the election is done and declared at the polling station.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We want to put structures in place that will put life into that law and that provision.
What would this structure look like?
One of the things I'm saying is to define the role of IEBC vis-a-vis that of the Secretariat.
Okay.
Number one, so that they don't have unnecessary powers. Number two, we decentralize up to the polling center. You get it?
No.
Once you have structures overseeing elections at the county level, IEBC at the county level, at the constituency ward level and the polling center level, you begin to give legitimacy that is now lacking of that vote at Luombe.
That is already happening.
And then
that's why
your remember
vote
in
at
2013 we made a mistake.
Center.
In 2013 we made a mistake.
Yes.
We forced the media not to declare we were running away from ICC and from 2007. Informed by that background, media were actually warned.
Now you've come to.
They were warned
to a place where
not to declare elections. If we need to rewind, go back and say, "Oh, that was a mistake."
What we need to do then?
Let media be an important and integral partner in the electoral process.
Yes. What we need to do is make sure that the presiding officer at Luombe
Yes.
is heard countrywide.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's
how the
it.
media comes in, and the media cannot go to Luombe when the management is at Bomas and Anniversary Towers. You take the management to Vihiga County at Mbale headquarters, you take it to Hamisi where I come from, then you take it to Gisambai Ward, then you take it to Luombe polling center. Now, the media has strength. You see? The media can cough. And this media can also
already
be handled in a collaborative manner so that all media houses can scatter around the country so that what you people say...
Nothing bars us from being at Luombe polling center on that election night. Nothing. Apart from...
The expense.
The expense. That's what I'm saying.
Sawa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.